What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of NBA Crunch Time here on RotoGrinders. So with you on a Sunday evening, 5 NBA games on the slate this evening. We've actually had a pretty action-packed schedule today on this Sunday, but quite a few afternoon games as well. But 5 games remaining on the main evening slate for us to talk about here with you over the next 40 minutes or so as we head up to lineup block at 6 p.m. Eastern here on this Sunday. I am Justin Van Zuden, STL Cardinals 84. We'll be guiding the ship for you here tonight. I have two sharp dudes beside me as well. We've got TJ Zwarich on one side. TJ, what's going on? I hear you had a pretty good night last night, so congrats.
Thank you so much. Had a pretty good night last night. We played 45% Chris Dunn, and that was the big winner for us. And so I was talking to Dre last night. It's a little bit bittersweet just because I MME'd the 50-cent contest, and we looked at the $15 one, and I would have taken first and second by about 7 and 5 points. So that was a little bit demoralizing, but hey, a win is a win. Can't really be expecting to win the 100K unless you're playing multiple thousand entry fees usually. So feeling pretty good about this slate as well, and ready to dive into it.
Yeah, you can play the woulda, coulda, shoulda game in the Thunderdome every night and think about the days you would have won, but yeah, it's tough when you got that big lineup that you don't have in the bigger contests, but over time, sticking to your bankroll management certainly pays off, and a winning night is still one that you can end up happy with and move on to the next day. So kudos on the win, and we've got Andre alongside again tonight as well. Andre, what's going on?
Not much, back here from just doing a little wedding, tasting at my wedding venue that I'm getting married in November. So good to be back again today. And
have we decided on a menu yet?
I don't know. It's tough. There's so many good options in food. So I love food. So it's gonna be hard.
So we're still deciding on the options.
Yes, definitely, for sure.
You got some time yet. But congrats on that.
I'm picturing this to be like the Fanduel baseball live final we were just at this past year. I want people with plates coming around with nice snacks, with also the nice buffet, just everything surrounded at all times.
Yes, that's how I hope we have it. So get a couple more baseball wins and get some wins for baseball when it comes up, and we'll go from there. But I know we're trying to talk about basketball. Hopefully, get some good hot plays like TJ over here, and let's get it going.
All right, we'll see if we can come up with tonight's Chris Dunn. Again, a 5-game main slate tonight. Not necessarily the heaviest slate that you'll see for injury news. We knew quite a bit of it coming into the day. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is out for OKC this evening, so you'll see some of their guys popping, particularly on DraftKings. Curry's still out. Towns is still out. Van Vliet is still out with his personal issue. Kind of the big thing, Aaron Gordon's still out as well. The big thing that's come up throughout the day is that Rudy Gobert is questionable with an illness. Seems like that dude gets sick a lot. I don't know, weird, but he is questionable tonight. Ever since going back to the COVID days with Rudy Gobert, here we are. But he's questionable tonight. We've seen Naz Reid step up in his absence several times here over the past couple of months when Gobert has been out. So that's the one we have to keep an eye on here as we get closer to lock. Probably won't have that news in advance of the 6 o'clock first game, but maybe we have it by the time the second game starts. And then, of course, anything can pop up at any time in the NBA. But TJ, what are you keeping an eye on here tonight?
That is the biggest one. And as it stands right now, I'm taking a stand that I have Naz Reid in about 80% of my lineups. Obviously, if Gobert gets ruled in later in the day, later in the evening, I'm going to have to do some adjusting. But my thought process here is he's without a doubt the best play on the slate if he happens to be starting and Gobert's out. Even if Gobert happens to be in and I have, say, 30% of my lineups I can't get Naz Reid out of, I was probably going to play 15 to 20% of him anyways, just because he's below 4K and is probably going to get 20 minutes and is a good fantasy point per minute producer. So I'm trying to take a stand and get 80 to 90% Naz Reid today. And then if Gobert happens to get ruled in, I'll take him out of as many lineups as I can. If Gobert happens to be ruled out, I will try and get him in that remaining 15% of my lineups.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. I think the discussion on FanDuel gets really, really interesting with center tonight. We'll touch on that here in a bit. But Andre, what are you keeping an eye on for the news tonight?
That is the main news I'm keeping an eye on today. We already know pretty much almost everything. We know Toronto's situation that they got going on with Fred being out again. Everyone else is pretty much straightforward. I think, are we waiting on Golden State Warriors new with Draymond, or is he in? I think he's questionable. So that's a big one too, because if Kuminga ends up being a starter, that might give us another extra guy to add value to the slate today. So I like that. I like Kuminga a lot, especially in Minnesota. If Draymond's out and Minnesota runs like at one of the I think top paces in the league, so he's someone I want to keep an eye on to as well to see. And if not, also on the other side, it helps a guy like Kyle Anderson now too, who's 5,400, who's 5,400 as well. I think that whole game environment is very important. So just more so on the opposite side, because I think Gobert doesn't play myself, because he's been, I think every time he has had like an illness downgrade this year, he has sat, if I'm correct. So I'm just going to keep that trend up and just go with Naz Reid.
And that's a stand I since we're going to start on FanDuel here, our wonderful sponsor, I'd be less willing to take there. Naz Reid is over 5K. And Cars, I'll leave this to you here, since you were on the court plays today and you had this tag just for visibility purposes, but somebody forgot a 0 on the FanDuel spreadsheet today.
I'm not sure how it happens, but sometimes you get some errors, and it's just someone forgot a 0. So the QC check failed on the min salary requirement today, and Mr. Chimezie Metu is $410 on FanDuel. So this becomes an interesting discussion, because Metu is center only on FanDuel, and you only get one center. Of course, if Gobert's out, Naz Reid is center only on FanDuel, and then you also have Jokic as basically, one of the top overall plays on the slate. That's center only on FanDuel. But if you take $410, I mean, you need like 8 to 10 points out of that to make it worthwhile. So it's the first time, I think, ever that we've had a guy projected for 13 minutes. That's at the highest owned projected ownership at his respective position. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with my hands. But I mean,
he's projected to 27x.
I mean, at 13 minutes, like, and the last 2 games, he's played 21 minutes, 24 fantasy points, 14 minutes, 18 fantasy points. So these $410, I mean, what you can do with that is quite a bit with the rest of your lineup. But let's say, I mean, Gobert gets ruled out, and then you've got Jokic here, you've got Reid here, and you can only play one center on FanDuel. So, I mean, TJ, from an optimal lineup perspective, this is probably a lot of the biggest question that people have that are playing FanDuel tonight. I mean, what do they do with this $410 center?
I would on FanDuel specifically, I would play him in every single lineup, because it's still a salary cap game like any other slate, right? And so who cares if you have the one less position? You still, from a point per dollar standpoint, can probably, if you took a 0 from him, like, let's look at this practically for a second. There's 8 positions left, right? And you get 7,500 per position for 8 positions left. So say you take somebody right in that range, Evan Mobley, who is projected for 37.8 fantasy points. So I'll get my calculator out here quick. 37.8 times 8, and that's still 302 points. So if you get a 0 from him tonight, you're still looking at around 302 points. If you plug in Nikola Jokic and then you build an optimal lineup over on FanDuel, the highest optimal you can get is less than what you would be with Metu, but it's 313. And so I don't think you're sacrificing much. I would go with Chimezie Metu today.
I'm gonna add him to my play now because I thought that was just a joke. Honestly, I really didn't realize FanDuel was doing that. But if they're really doing that, then I'm getting one line of it on FanDuel and marking him as a core play now.
Yeah, he's $410. You get the 90% discount off of the sticker price today. But it makes it a really interesting discussion for sure. If you decide that you don't want to, handle the Metu debate in DFS, you can maybe bet the game on the FanDuel Sportsbook. So you can sign up for that if you're in a legal sports betting state. The amount of states that are allowing legal sports betting now continues to grow. So check out the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome new bonus offer. New customers can get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply on that. You can check that out at the FanDuel Sportsbook. And that game has the highest total of the night at about 240 points. So another reason why Metu becomes interesting, even if he is only playing 13 to 15 minutes. But that center discussion on FanDuel, really interesting. I am subscribing to that theory as well, which is why I have Metu marked as a core play. You can go with Reed, you can go with Jokic, over on DraftKings if you're playing over there as well. But Metu on FanDuel.
It's the same when they had the Baltimore Chris Davis at $200, and you could just make the rest of your lineups with 5K batters in baseball. If you do that,
but he was 0 for 4 with 4Ks every night.
Oh, but then I had him when he got like 12 points and I won a bunch of money. But like if you plug in Chimezie Metu at center, you can take some floor and play a power forward eligible Domantas Sabonis in that same game. Throw in Dort, Anthony Edwards, Josh Giddey, Dame Lillard. You still have over $5,300 per position for your last three spots. Like it just makes it so you can do whatever the heck you want. If he puts 0 to 5, you can still cash tonight. If he puts up 12, you probably are going to. And if he puts up 25, you absolutely have to have him tonight. Otherwise, you're screwed.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the path on FanDuel. Let's talk about some of these other spots. TJ, what are you doing as far as I'll let you take kind of the optimal lineup stance, and then we'll let Andre throw the tournament takes in. But who are some of the other guys you like on FanDuel tonight?
So you're really building today around OKC, and I'm honestly kind of fine if we just throw this around, both give our optimals, both give some tournaments, because I know Dre's playing one today. I'm playing about 300, so I don't mind getting in some low-owned tournament plays in there as well. But on FanDuel, even though these OKC players aren't quite as cheap, they're still my focus today. Luguentz Dort and Josh Giddey are the priorities. Jalen Williams and Isaiah Joe, Jalen with an E and Isaiah Joe, I think are both fine. And if I'm running 150, I think I would even include like the Jalen Williams with an I, Kenrich Williams, and Trey Mann in my pool as well. They're such an interesting team to get to today. And then the next team on my list that I want to focus on is obviously Portland, especially if I'm taking the route of like, hey, I want to lock in Chimezie Metu today at $4,100 at $410. I'm also locking in Dame Lillard. He's underpriced, and I need to use that salary. He's going to be 50% owned today, and so I need to find some way to get different. And so if he's going to be in a ton of lineups anyways, I don't want to fade him. I'm going to play him in all of my lineups, every single one, 100%. And so whether it was one lineup or 500 lineups, I'm running Damian Lillard in all of them today on FanDuel. He's $1,000 cheaper than he is on DraftKings. He is underpriced. He is in a phenomenal spot, getting all of the Dame Lillard today. And then the third team after OKC and Portland that I'm looking to go to in bunches today is Minnesota. We're still waiting on the news from them, but they got Rudy Gobert, Jalen Noel, Taurean Prince, all questionable. Naz Reid, obviously you couldn't play him if you're playing Metu, but on another site would be a great play. Kyle Anderson would become one of the very best plays on the slate. Jaden McDaniels in play. Anthony Edwards is already one of my favorite spend ups and would be another player I'd consider lock buttoning today if I was also lock buttoning Metu, just finding ways to spend that salary. So that's kind of where I'd be looking to get to. And then all of a sudden, if you happen to get Gobert, Noel, and Prince out, I think you can really look at some guys for some value today if you're not going the Metu route, like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jordan McLaughlin, maybe even Austin Rivers if he pops into I'm not playing Austin Rivers. Who am I kidding?
That's always the winning move right there. But I agree. I like Lillard as the top spend. I mean, you don't have Jokic on FanDuel if you're going the Metu route, so Lillard becomes just the guy there in a strong matchup himself. Andre, who do you like over on FanDuel tonight yourself?
Obviously Metu is the number one play, but besides that, like Lillard, I understand Lillard 10-5 is too cheap for him, and without like I both echo with him. Without Simons in the lineup, I think he's just someone you have to get in. OKC wise, so I know that's a team that we're targeting a lot of tonight. I really do like I really do like I really do like Dort. I like Lawrence Dort a lot tonight. I think he's a fantastic play. But I'm trying like Josh Giddey. I know he's 8K on FanDuel, but like with that, I mean, it's expensive. That's a problem. Like, but in this game, Josh Giddey should get the usage. I'm a little bit iffy with him on FanDuel, because of the 8K price. It's a little bit of a sticker shock to me. Because in his matchup against OKC, he's his highest fantasy output has only been like 30. I mean, against the Kings has only been 36, but we only talking the person who's been in the league only 2 years now. But now that we also got now the news of the Draymond Green news of him being out. I really do like getting to Jonathan Kuminga a lot here, the small forward position. Another cheap guy that you don't have to pay a lot for today. I think he's going to probably be pricey. And then you're going to also have a problem now of spending salary, because where are we going to spend up on? Because people are not going to be used to getting these guys are not optimal in their lineups. So going with guys to me like a Kawhi Leonard, who is at 10-3, overpaying for him might be something worth it tonight. Paul George, even though he has a minutes limit, still might be someone that's worth it tonight, who I love a lot, going against Denver. And I would definitely have a run back, since you can use, and if you're using Metu, you can use obviously Jokic in that spot. Someone running back with a guy like maybe Jamal Murray. I think he's someone that's valuable here as well. And then I also do like going to a guy like Pascal Siakam, who is going to be unowned and going overlooked here for the most part in this game against Cleveland. So that will be without Fred VanVleet here. So I think Siakam is another option you could go, and you go like double spender with Siakam and Sabonis here. And be fine with that as well, or Scotty Barnes, whichever one you're going to go, because I know Scotty Barnes also is running the point guard position, and their coach is going to run them out there with a lot of minutes. So that's the one thing I would feel confident with going with anybody from Toronto with. So those are the main places I'll be looking at and targeting a lot of. But I think also you need to have probably at least one player from that Denver game, honestly. I'm not sure who is going to be, but I think you need just one guy from there, and that's it.
Yeah, I think Kawhi Leonard is really interesting in tournaments tonight. Obviously, had the big box score the other night in that game that ended up being the second highest scoring game in NBA history. Wild double overtime game in that one, but it's an interesting play if George is going to be limited to any degree. Kawhi got up to 46 minutes. Again, obviously it was double overtime, so you got to take some of that with a grain of salt. But single-digit ownership on him, I think he's really interesting for tournaments over on FanDuel tonight. I did see a little bit of discussion in the YouTube chat. Somebody was asking, is there a chance they change Metu's salary before lock? No, that's not going to happen. Whenever they need to change a salary, they always take down the whole slate and repost it from scratch. If they were going to do that, they would have done that this morning. So don't worry about that being.
They've done it 15 minutes before.
Yeah, they're not going to change that at this point. So don't worry about it. If you're playing Metu, you're good to go, unless they just decide to cancel the whole slate. So don't worry about that being changed at all. If anybody's got questions on the FanDuel slate here, and then we'll kick it over to DraftKings in a minute. But if you got questions on the FanDuel slate, Anthony asking why we all like Metu. He's $410 on FanDuel. The FanDuel salary floor is $3,500. He is supposed to be $4,100. He's $410. So somebody forgot a zero there. So even though he is only projected for 13 minutes, he's like the best point per dollar graded play on the slate on FanDuel. So don't play him on
This
DraftKings.
season.
Yes. Don't play him on DraftKings, but you can play him on FanDuel. All right. And Taylor says weird seeing leftover salary ending in 90, which is pretty wild. So, all right, TJ, any tournament takes, other thoughts on DraftKings or FanDuel before we pivot over to DraftKings?
Nothing in particular. I think whether it's like a cash or a single entry type situation, I'd want to make sure I get in Metu, Dort, Edwards, Giddy, Lillard. Like that would be the core that I'd want to be making sure I start everything with. Love the idea of picking a power forward spot to spend up with, whether it's Sabonis or Kawhi Leonard. Leonard would be my favorite way of doing that in tournaments, but I don't think there's anything wrong with doing Pascal Siakam there as well. I love that call by Dre. That way, if you do somebody like a Siakam, you can afford to get somebody like a Jeremy Grant in another position as well. So I think the FanDuel build is pretty straightforward today. Find one or two small places to get different. Don't get crazy because it's super straightforward.
Either my audio hiccuped or your audio hiccuped when you said Giddy Lillard, and it really sounded like kitty litter for a second. And I was wondering who the heck is kitty litter on the slate tonight, but then I figured it out, Giddy Lillard. So hopefully it was yours, and then that can be in the audio archives. But anyhow, yeah, Giddy I think is the one kind of wild card play with that OKC team. Obviously, he's not as cheap as Dort and Joe and some of those other guys, but it gives you that triple double potential with his all around ability that I think makes him more of an intriguing tournament option. So all right, let's go ahead and pivot over to DraftKings. Where the discussion is obviously a little bit different. You don't have the $410 Metu over there. But TJ, I'll let you roll through your general DraftKings thoughts here now.
So for me, this is where I'm taking that big stand on Naz Reid, $3,700, just too cheap. I'm getting him in about 85% of my lineups today. Then after Naz, it's back to an OKC focus. Dort, Joe, and Giddy. All of them are way, way, way too cheap. $3,900 for Joe, $4,600 for Dort, $7,300 for Giddy. It's just obscene misprice, especially on Dort and Joe, but also on Josh Giddy today. And so the three of them I'm trying to get to a ton. Dort and Joe, I'm up over the 70% range. Giddy falls around the 50 to 60% range, but I'm getting a ton of them. Those three players, Naz Reid and Damian Lillard, are all the guys that I want on over half of my lineups today. Then from there, it's like I mentioned before, it's a Minnesota focus while mixing in a lot of Nikola Jokic. Kyle Anderson, Anthony Edwards, Nikola Jokic, both Jalen Williamses, Kenrich Williams, and then I'm going to Houston. KJ Martin, Şengün, Ty Washington, Jayshawn Tate, Terry Eason, Jeremy Grant from that first game with Portland that I talked about as well. That's going to be where I'm going to the most today. And now that we got this news with Draymond out, I'm still kind of fiddling around here, trying to see if I can get some more Golden State players into my lineup.
Yeah, the discussion is a little bit different on DraftKings because the OKC guys, they're just too cheap. The multiple Jalen Williams thing is really weird. If you watch their games, I would hate to be the OKC announcer that has to try to delineate them every night, but two Jalen Williams on the same team is pretty wild. But Dort, 4,600, Joe, 3,900, like they're both well over 5K on FanDuel. So you're going to have a little bit more exposure in general, probably to this OKC team on DraftKings, where you need the value, certainly more than you do on FanDuel if you're playing Metu. So, Andre, your thoughts on the DraftKings slate here?
Yeah, this is a certain guys that to me you kind of have to play. Like I think Joe is definitely someone you might have to play today, just for the simple fact of he's going to probably play upwards of 30. He's probably going to play 30 minutes again, and even if he plays still mid 20 minutes, he can still have a high upside game because the Kings do play with pace a little bit too. So I like Joe a lot. Obviously, you're going to be starting with like a guy like Dort. Dort has the highest increase, obviously, in usage with Shy out, and averages like 22 points, I think, per game in his career with when Shy has missed games. So he's someone I definitely think you want to target and have like as a lock in your lineup. I'm taking the same approach as TJ here. I am literally I'm literally sorry, just gotta think about the Paul Fury fight. I'm literally gonna probably lock in Nas Reed as well because like I said, like we talked about previously at the beginning of the show. This guy typically tends to be out when he's sick, so I think Nas is going to be an excellent play over here. I really want to play Giddy on DraftKings. I know the minutes thing. People, I think someone had a question about it. I'm not going to worry about that. It's just one game. Him playing. I mean, he's played 24 minutes a couple games this season, but I'm just going to take that as a one-off, especially in the game against Sacramento. 7-3 is still a good price. It's an excellent price to pay for him. So I think you have to play him. And I think from there, I just want to probably do more of a game stack. Now that we know, like I said, I'm taking the approach that with Minnesota, knowing that Gobert is out, I'm gonna play a guy like Kyle Anderson. I'm gonna play probably a lot of Anthony Edwards, even though I'm running one lineup. I'm playing Anthony Edwards. I'll be playing those type of guys in my lineup here today, just which is gonna be probably not that different, but just maybe a little bit tad bit different than most people are going to be playing here, because I'm also going to try to include maybe, like I said, one of these guys from the Clippers or in that Denver game. I think you need someone like I said before in that type of game tonight, just to take it all down. It doesn't have to be no one that's like a Jokic, who obviously can smash here, but we got Zubac out again, so maybe a guy like Plumlee or even Russell Westbrook. Like I'm still willing to take shots on Russell Westbrook. In this new Clippers offense, he hit 8 of his assists yesterday. Shouts to SportsCenter. 8 of his assists were on made threes, and he had 14 in that game against the Kings. So I think he's still someone that we can roster here. I know it's kind of a little bit in shock, but I think it's I think he's definitely a difference maker in tournaments because what if he's still playing with these guys and can be like the old Russell Westbrook like he is and having a triple double and gets 50 to 60 fantasy points at that 7K price, at that 7.2 I believe price point that he's at. 7.1, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he can still get those triple doubles even if he goes, 4 for 17 from the floor with 7 turnovers. Hey, those you can still get the triple double with his kind of all around potential there. So, all right, so we need to keep an eye, obviously, on Gobert. That's the big news. He's questionable with illness, as the other guys have mentioned throughout the show. Generally, when that happens with him, he's tended to sit. But we still don't know, with complete certainty. So keep an eye on that. And now let's see. Let's get the questions. If you've got some of those, throw them in the YouTube chat. So we've got, or in the RotoGrinders NBA Crunch Time Discord, of course. If you're a premium subscriber, we'll make sure we grab them from there. So NBA DFS has one for us in there, a FanDuel cash question. So TJ, I will throw this to you. It is Isaiah Joe, Kawhi, and Kyle Anderson, or Ty Washington, Mobley, and Edwards. FanDuel cash.
Second one.
All right, so he's going with Washington, Mobley, and Edwards. Andre, Luke Cage is asking how many OKC players are too many in DraftKings GPPs?
I think 3 is the magic number.
So, yeah, I think 3 you can kind of mix and match around, and then you obviously don't want your whole roster full of those guys, but whether it's one of the Williamses, Dort, Joe, Giddey, kind of mix and match them. In GPPs, like you don't want to play 6 guys, 5 guys. Obviously, there's limitations on the amount you can play depending on the site, but you get too many guys from one team and it kind of cannibalizes your upside unless you get that, wacky double overtime game with 300 points or something like that. So I'm in agreement. I think 3 makes sense. A few people in the YouTube chat are asking if Metu is a trap on FanDuel. I mean, TJ, you kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but why don't you, for those that might just be joining, review the Metu math here?
To me, even if he puts up a 0 today, which is incredibly unlikely, it still doesn't hurt you all that much because it's $410. That's it. You still have almost your entire 50 or whatever it is $60,000 salary cap for the rest of your lineup. And it's not like you're occupying half of your lineup spaces. You still have 8 more spots in there. So even if he puts up a 0 because he isn't costing you anything, it isn't going to hurt your lineup all that much. You could still cash. And then if he happens to put up 20 points tonight, or 15 to 20, like he usually does, you're going to need him to cash. You won't be able to cash without him. If he puts up 30, you have absolutely no chance. So to me, it's a must.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be a trap at $410 because the likelihood of him tanking your lineup is pretty much 0. The alternative would be if Jokic goes for like 90, I guess that would be a problem. But Taylor is mentioning it can't really be a trap. So we're kind of in agreement on that. All right. Somebody else asking how many OKC is a good number for DK cash. And again, I think, you're sitting that 3 number. You're probably fine. Like TJ, how many OKC guys you playing in cash in DraftKings?
My lineup has 3 right now. I'm the decision I'm trying to make in my last piece. Do I want to play, Jalen with an I, Williams, or do I want to play Ty Washington? And that'll kind of depend on how many I'm playing in my main lineup.
Yeah. All right. If you're watching, we've got about 150 people watching now. So hit that like button. We appreciate it very much. And we'll get to your questions here. We got about 8 minutes left until lock. Again, throw them in the YouTube chat. Throw them in the RotoGrinders Discord. And we will get your questions on the air here before we hit the lock. So again, 8 minutes till lock. Gobert is the big news we're waiting on. Draymond Green has been ruled out for Golden State tonight. So Andre, maybe for those that are just joining, how are you handling the Golden State news with Draymond out tonight?
I'm gonna try to get as well. I'm definitely gonna have a Golden State Warrior in my lineup. I'm just trying to figure out who I really want a lot of. I do like Kuminga so far as the most optimal guy I want to go with personally in my lineup. So he might be someone I'm going to try to get a lot of exposure to at 4-4. But then also a guy like Dante DiVincenzo, who is going to probably have to step up and be another primary scorer for this team. If he's going to be playing like 35 minutes like he did the last game we played, I want him as well. So those are the main 2 guys I'll be targeting, more so secondary pieces. But definitely one of those 2 guys would be the main guys I'd be targeting and wanting to go play in my lineup.
All right. So I like those calls as well. Jay Sam's asking, when building tournament lineups, do you try to stay somewhat close to the optimal projections, or is there a specific number like 15 to 20 points below optimal projections? TJ, how do you handle the projection data when you're building your tournament lineups?
Don't look at it all that closely, if I'm being honest. Like, I still trying to get high into like some decently high individually projected plays, but one of the reasons why people are good tournament plays often is because they'll have a high ceiling but also a low floor that leaves their median projection somewhere in the middle, and you're hoping for a ceiling game from them in tournaments. So I don't really look at that too much in a tournament building perspective. I'll more so look at individual players when I'm trying to choose between like a 2v2 or a 1v1 and look at the projection there.
All right. Anthony is asking if Giddey is a must play. Andre, where do you stand on Giddey tonight?
I actually was just researching more onto this now situation. I don't on DraftKings. I feel like he kind of is, but then the same thing is we got Isaiah Joe at 3.9, and I think it really just depends on who plays what minutes. Like Isaiah Joe played 35 minutes. I think he was just having such a good game because he went 11 from 15 from the field that it's hard to take him out and play Giddey more. When someone's just playing that well and you like your lineup the way it is. So I don't think he's a must. Definitely not a must on Fanduel, but he's probably like I'm 50-50 with them on DK.
All right. Somebody else has asked Little or Kuminga. Kuminga never seems to get extended run. It's a fair point, but we do have Kuminga projected for 27 minutes tonight, and it's not like Nasir Little is going to be out there playing 30 minutes. And we've got that.
Remember, Grant is back too today. Grant wasn't playing last game.
correct. Yeah, Grant is back tonight. So we've got Kuminga projected for about 7 additional fantasy points over Little. I think that one is fairly straightforward. So, all right. Let's see. A DK Cash question in the YouTube chat. TJ, Kuminga, DiVincenzo, Edwards, or Williams, Reed, and Jokic? Trying to figure out which Williams that is, but I don't know.
I think it's the first one.
All right, yeah, and then definitely until we get confirmation on Gobert, hard to go with Reed in cash. All right, Andre, Westbrook or Grant? Last piece in a DK GPP.
Oh, Westbrook.
All right, so we've got one person asking 2 questions: Joe or Ty Washington. TJ, I'll let you start with that one.
That's actually
Joe.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are having that question. I would go with Joe as well, but I think they're both fine.
Joe or Giddey?
Well, the salary's different, but I mean,
Joe on DraftKings. Joe is my priority over Giddey. On Fanduel, Giddey would be my priority over Joe.
Okay, I think that's fair given where the salaries are. And then somebody's asking Kuminga versus Tate. Lots of Kuminga questions coming in. Like, I don't know, Tate is horrible. I can't remember the last time I've ever gotten excited about playing Jason Tate, but Andre, you like Kuminga over Tate?
Yes.
Okay, I do as well. But
I like Tate over Kuminga for what it's worth.
Oh, Tate's terrible. I mean, I know Kuminga's not very good either. I've got bias against Tate for a reason that I really don't understand. I don't know, but I just don't like playing him. Somebody asked about Kenrich Williams as well a little bit ago. Any hot takes? TJ, any hot takes on Kenrich Williams?
Decent floor, not overly high ceiling. He's one of like Kenrich Williams, Ty Washington, Jalen Williams with an eye over on DraftKings. Those are the 3 players that I'm kind of looking at and going, dang, which one do I want as my last piece?
And then let's see. Anthony asking Dame or Jokic. Andre, you like Dame or Jokic tonight? If you got one, spend up.
Oh, that's tough. On which site?
They didn't say, so you can choose.
If it's DraftKings, it's gonna probably be Jokic. If it's FanDuel, it's gonna be Dame.
A few people have asked about whether or not fading the first game is appropriate. Like, I think that's fine because it gives you more time to react to it's not like there's expected to be a ton of news tonight, so I don't think it really matters all that much. But it's like, the 217 total, 7-point spread. Neither team wants to play fast. Like Toronto's game yesterday took the NBA back to the 90s. It was 94-91, I believe, in regulation there. So the first game is not necessarily a priority by any means. I think you can definitely fade it. Like if you end up with a Mobley or an Allen or a Garland or Pirtle on DraftKings, I think is fine at 6,200. But, it's not a must-have game. So don't worry about getting exposure to that first game, which starts in 1 minute. All right, Jay Sam's asking if we agree with ownership projections and think guys like Ty might be lower owned than Murray or vice versa. Was thinking Murray will get overlooked. TJ, thoughts on Murray? We didn't really talk about him that much.
I could see him getting overlooked today as well. Like I see on DraftKings, we got Jamal Murray at only 10% projected ownership. And so, yeah, I would be willing to bet he is like a max 10% type of guy today.
And Jamal Murray can have a ceiling game here. He's had 2 good games this season against the Clippers, and and his price point is not high enough for what he can do.
Yeah, really.
Russell Westbrook is not going to be able to play defense on Jamal Murray.
Or replace that with pretty much any NBA caliber player, but definitely not Murray. I mean, there's some pieces in that last game that are definitely going to get overlooked tonight that I think are definitely interesting. With that, we are at the lock. And looks like the Golden State lineup just got confirmed. Poole, Thompson, DiVincenzo, Kuminga, and Looney. So Kuminga is starting. For those of you that were maybe on the fence about him, maybe that makes you feel a little bit better. So, all right. So with that, we can probably go ahead and call it a show. Andre, anything else you want to pass along before we get out of here?
Me over on rebounds. Take it. Lock it in.
All right. TJ, any last minute nuggets before we get out of here for you?
No, sir. Let's win some money tonight. Let's keep it going.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Like that one. And with that, we'll go ahead and put a wrap on this Sunday night crunch time here on RotoGrinders. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. And then you can get a notification whenever we go live. Plenty of good content coming throughout the week as well as we start a new work week tomorrow. So with that, thanks to Andre and to TJ for joining me and to Rob for producing behind the scenes for us. We appreciate everyone's help into making this a good show for you guys and appreciate you watching as well. I am Justin. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, everyone, and take care. We will see you back here tomorrow.